Let's look at some predecessors and dependents and some of the helpful pieces and some of the pieces that can create some trouble with these. So right now you'll notice each of these schedule items has only one dependent. There aren't multiple links going on, which can be helpful for visualizing. I mean, it's kind of easy to see this comes first and then this and then that, and if I push rough framing out, then everything else stays pretty clean. That's nice, but you may run into issues if your subs aren't available as anticipated. So let's give a good example here. Let's say there's a gap day, right? A Tuesday, and so there's a couple things that happen. You're trying to fill this Tuesday, but hey, bummer, turns out your plumber's not even available till next Tuesday. But hey, good news, your electrician is actually available this Tuesday. Well, you can make it work. It's not ideal, but there's enough space inside the existing walls that they're not going to conflict. Whoa, what just happened? I mean, my schedule just got turned into spaghetti, and now I've got my rough inspections happening before my rough plumbing is completed, and back framing is done before rough plumbing too. So that doesn't work. In this case, it would actually be helpful to have more than one predecessor link coming from some of these schedule items. And I'll show you how. So let's say that rough inspections, right now it's just tied to back out framing. So it makes it fairly vulnerable to the schedule spaghetti, where if back out framing for whatever reason, we've got guys available and it gets moved up 3 days, then rough inspections gets moved with it. And suddenly your rough inspections, you're getting all kinds of notifications that aren't accurate. So in this case, I'm actually going to change this to rough plumbing. And then we're going to do rough electric. And let's also do rough HVAC, because those are actually the things that need to happen before rough inspections happen. Great. Let's play that same exact scenario again, where here we'll pull this all back together so it's exactly the way it was before. So that was the situation, but this time, and that looks good. Everything is landing where it should. All three are landing before rough inspections. This time we've got plumber that wants to come in next Tuesday and electrician that's ready to come in on Tuesday. Well, that kind of works. I guess in this case, this needs to be set to 0, not -1. But now, it should all be set up perfectly. Sweet. It doesn't look pretty, but it's actually functional. Okay, so let's look at this in another way. There are multiple ways to create these dependency links. You saw me do it just a few minutes ago. You can just click on the end of a schedule item and drag it to where it goes. Back out framing is a good example. I can click from the end of rough HVAC and move it to back out framing. Now let's click inside back out framing and see exactly how that looks when it's built that way. So you'll notice here we've got 3 lag days behind HVAC, 1 lag day behind plumbing. What does that actually mean? And why is this not helpful in our circumstance? I'll show you. So let's say we move rough HVAC. First I need to, just for example purposes, remove rough plumbing. Let's say it's just our mechanical guy that's late now, and he says, oh, I'll get to you next Monday. Well, okay, that works, but now back out framing is 1, 2, 3 days after rough HVAC. That doesn't work. Why is that happening? That's what's happening inside these lag days. So whenever you draw a predecessor in BT, so if I draw a predecessor from rough HVAC to drywall, it's going to count the number of lag days between that and add it inside the schedule item. 7. But let's see what happens if I set this to 0. Nothing happened. Well, here's why. So if there are multiple schedule items, 1 and 2, and whichever one of these comes later in the schedule, so in this case 3.3 is after 2.22, then it'll just be 0 days till drywall. So vapor barrier, and then the next day drywall. So that's what's going on there. But if you've got lag days plugged in, then even if your mechanical gets pushed back, you'll still have 3 gap days. So let's go ahead and change this real fast. Let's go 0 and 0, and let's save that, and let's see what it looks like now. Perfect. Now we've got back out framing happening right after rough plumbing. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Sometimes it's better to create the predecessor links from inside the schedule items, 3 max. If you create them here, 1, 2, 3, then you can pretty easily modify the lag days at the same time. But if you create them out here, then you're gonna get these, in this case, two lag days as a default. You can't adjust it, but that's something to keep in mind, how those work together. Okay, so in this case, we actually want rough mechanical to happen first and 0 lag days, so that should do it. And now our schedule should go back very similar to how it was originally. So that's, I guess we've got some lag days going on in here. Let's change that to 0. Now it'll go back to how it should be. Great. So sometimes you actually don't have enough links in your schedule items. You might want to add another predecessor link besides just having one. Having just one can make it pretty easy to flip-flop and turn your schedules into spaghetti. But if you've got 2, it actually can be helpful, or even 3. Sometimes they'll keep you on track a little bit better. Another great example of this is final inspections. When do you call your final inspections? Well, you call them as soon as appliances are done and as soon as final electric and final plumbing. That's the time to do it. So you can set that up here, and then as those 3 move around, which they often do, you don't have to worry about getting a bunch of notifications or not knowing where your final inspections are, or turning your schedule into spaghetti. So in this case, sometimes more links is better. Okay.